Hi folks, I'm sure of you are doing fine. As always, a pleasure coming and speaking to you, but today is a very different context I'm going to speak to you. Probably I'd normally start with these words saying that I've been extremely delighted to come to you on a contemporary topic. Yes, I'm going to talk to you on a very contemporary topic, but unfortunately it is not a very delightful topic to speak on. It is a very important burning topic, something to do with our work life, something to do with work stress and things like that. And it all has to do with the death by stress, if I can say so, of a young chartered accountant girl who worked for Ersnt Young in Pune. This has happened in the past week, and the workplace landscape in the country has been shook by this incident. What is even worse is that huge esteemed organizations and a part of the big four, E&Y, has probably reacted in a very outrageous way, so much so that the mother of the deceased young girl has written a letter to the E&Y management in India about how they have failed in every front as an organization, as an employee, and how the future of hundreds and hundreds of young employees in a company like Ersnt Young are in deep peril because of the kind of culture which is being practiced with the organization. First things first, this girl is a young and chartered accountant. She's a topper in college as a commerce graduate, and then she only recently she finished her articleship, and somewhere in the end of last year she has joined Ersnt Young in Pune. It is now only about 6 months since she joined the organization, and she's probably expressed in more than one way that she's been extremely stressed because of the work culture, because of the work pressure, and because of the demands which the workplace placed on her, most of which was unrealistic in terms of deadlines and things like that. We really don't know much of details about what exactly has transpired at the workplace, because her organization Ersnt Young has not responded to any of the words given by the mother of the deceased young girl. The mother in her letter has alleged that E&Y, as a responsible organization, has failed to groom the child, failed to take care of the mental well-being of the child, and she is also probably accused E&Y of being very indifferent to young employees and their aspirations, and how the burden of pressure has really put at stake the future of a lot of youngsters like the deceased young girl. Very sad day for corporate India in a sense, but again here at stake are a number of other questions which we need to answer. The biggest question being is how much of work pressure is really worth taking it. A lot of times, of course, I've spoken about how work is very important as long as you want to carry a profession, and how you probably have to give it your best to pursue a career and a long career. I have also spoken a number of times about things like the career longevity, and how jumping often or not being focused on your career is probably very dicey for your long-term prospects, both in terms of family well-being, personal well-being, earning your riches, as well as creating your own career. But all that besides, it is also very important for us to realize that work stress is something very serious, and if you are not able to manage the work stress and not able to manage unrealistic expectations of the workplace, not able to manage toxic bosses, not able to manage an unsupportive work culture, then obviously the best recourse is to probably leave that particular organization and move to another organization where the demands of this kind are much lesser. Yes, I do keep saying that money is very important, and it is very important for the money to hit your bank every 5th of the month or end last working day of the month, because that is what matters as far as a good lifestyle and well-being of your family is concerned. But at the same time, if it is going to take a toll on your personal health, and if your health is going to be affected so much so that you probably imagine very negative things, including cutting short this wonderful life, then I will only say you should probably immediately call it quits. This is a very powerful message to all youngsters out there, and not just youngsters. All of us face a situation across the entire span of a career. This girl who is deceased is very young. She is probably only 6 months into her first job, but this can happen to anyone. It can happen to someone with 10 years of experience, 20 years of experience. Somebody is a CEO, CXO, and things like that. All that matters is your own health. As long as your well-being, both physical and mental, is being challenged by the organization, either covertly or overtly, I think it is high time you call it quits in that particular role. Of course, yeah, short term there will be a lot of discomfort, there is no doubt about it, but at the same time, if you probably can resurrect even a part of what you were doing earlier in terms of both monies and the role. It is worth it because you are saving your own life and your family well-being, which is very, very important. Imagine this young girl's family, imagine the state of shock which her mother and her immediate near and dear are going to be in for a long time. A promising chartered accountant, a bright student, a student who also won debate competitions both regionally and nationally. Such a wonderful star's life has been cut short because of probably work stress and the indifference of one single organization. The organization's management also has got a lot of questions to answer, and they also need to tell the world as to what is the kind of remedial systems they have for employees who face issues like this in the organization. Unfortunately, even in most of the Indian organizations, leave alone international organizations, the remedial measures for employees, the room for employees to voice their genuine feelings, the room for employees to have a channel of communication with anybody who matter, to take up issues like this when it affects them personally, that room is very, very low. All these companies have mission statements and vision statements which are put up on their walls, but sadly nothing happens in reality. That is a stark reality of the Indian corporate place, irrespective of however we may boast that the workplace in India has transformed wonderfully and employee well-being is taken care of. Here and there are a lot of issues like this, and it is also very, very important for me to mention here in this context that one should take with a lot of seriousness. People like Mr. N.R. Narayanamurthy, who built Infosys, speak about 70 hours a week. Imagine in the norm, if organizations are expecting you to do work for about 8 to 10 hours a day, but beyond that you still are working round the clock, because that is an unwritten rule in Indian corporate that if you want to be counted as good performer, you need to put in long hours and show outstanding performance, not in terms of numbers, but sadly your bosses and your functional leaders need to believe that you are working long hours. That is a very, very sad reality of Indian corporate. They really don't see the quality of work what you do, but they also measure a lot of employees by the quantity of work they do. Unfortunately, even Big Four kind of companies seem to be victim to this kind of work style, where quality of work is measured less, quality of work is underrated compared to quantity of work. That is a very, very bad trend, because then employees will only try and warm their seats sitting long hours instead of doing anything productive. So it is only high time Indian corporates mend their ways in these kinds of things. Another very, very important perspective which you really see is that the leaders in organizations like this have been very, very indifferent. It also shows very, very clearly that the top management is completely isolated or cut off from what is happening at the ground level. Any organization, the leadership has got should have ears on the ground, and very, very clearly in the case of this young girl who worked with Ernst Young, probably the leaders really never knew what is happening at the entry level, and an entry level, a fresh graduate, a CA topper has languished in her work for 6 months and probably is no more, purely due to the work stress for which the organization is purely responsible. Yes, one may come up with the argument saying that everybody has got work stress, but this girl hasn't been able to manage. But when there are cases like this, every employee matter should be the motto of these organizations, and these cannot go off as stray cases where it's okay, there are people who even talk things like, yes, these kind of employees will not fit our organizational culture. I've seen a lot of people talk like that. When they see employees who cannot cope up with the kind of pressure which they put, they immediately say that this person won't fit our culture. That is a very, very toxic culture which these companies are breeding, and I would say the employees, when they look for prospective employers, should be very, very wary of such organizations and not take up any roles. This is where a lot of research about your prospective employer matters, and that is why I always keep telling my candidates or my friends and co-workers that any assignment they take up, more than the hard facts, the softer facts or the softer issues are very, very important. The organizational environment, the way the organizational leaders behave, the way the organization leaders take interest in the welfare of the last employee in the organization, all these things matter. If the leadership of the organization is going to be cut off from all these kinds of people, obviously such toxic culture will go unnoticed, and end of the day the leaders of the organization will only feign ignorance that they probably are not aware of any such happenings in the organizations. These young girls Death has got a lot of lessons for corporate India, a lot of lessons for individuals, and a lot of lessons for the much maligned HR professionals. Now, the biggest question everybody asks is, what was HR function in a company like Ernst Young doing? Any multinational organization in this country boasts of a very, very robust HR system, boasts of HR grievances being addressed on just a mail or a WhatsApp message, but in reality it appears that there is no system in place, and probably HR leadership is just a bunch of yes men for the functional leaders of the organization, are probably head of the country's business unit. That has been the harsh reality, and that is also harsh reality with many other Indian organizations, sadly, where HR thinks their only role is to play the role of a talent acquisition leaders, and once they bring in the talent and they talk about a lot of fancy things like comp and ben strategy, HR strategy, tactics and stuff like that. In reality, they don't really care about employee welfare and things like that. What they really care is about HR's own importance in the organization, HR's place at the table in the boardroom, and more than that, probably they're just being sycophants to the functional leaders of the organization. This may not be the case with 100% of the HR leaders, but I can tell you with confidence that more than 60-70% of the HR leaders in this country are probably those people who really cannot toe anything, cannot toe a line apart from what the functional leadership does or the country leadership of the organization does. So HR as a function has miserably failed in the case of this particular girl. They've not probably listened to anything, and even more worse, it clearly shows that a new joinee in the organization never had a formal or a very, very serious induction program, and if somebody is probably passing away due to work stress just in 6 months of joining the organization, it clearly shows that there is just zero systems in place in terms of monitoring new employees, motivating new employees, giving them their mental and physical comfort, what is required and things like that. Again, I repeat, organizations don't have anything big at stake in these things. End of the day, these will be talking points where this leadership of these organizations will probably put some posts on LinkedIn and probably get away with it. They'll probably sermonize about how they are very, very serious about taking corrective measures and like that. But in all probability, nothing will happen. But for us who are going to be employees in such organizations, it is very, very important to take cognizance of these kind of issues. We need to work in the right organization. We need to be working in organizations which are not toxic. We need to work in organizations which take care of the employees, and we need to work in organization where the leadership really is concerned one bit about any employee in the organization, irrespective of what level in the hierarchy the organization is. So I'd probably request all of us to introspect about this event and understand what the ramifications of this event can be. It is a huge loss for the girl's family. A lot of people in the fraternity of chartered accountants who know her well, and the society at large. But end of the day, for people like you and me, it also is a very, very important lesson as to how our own priorities matter, our health matters, our families matter more than anything else. Yes, work is very, very important, but family is more supreme, and your own personal welfare is more supreme. Don't put your personal welfare, well-being and health at stake for the sake of these kind of organizations, is my final word. I'm sure you found it very, very useful. I think there are a lot of profound messages with this young girl's passing away. May her soul rest in peace. I'll see you soon in another video. Thank you.